Hi friends, it's Julia. I'm here to share a layout that I made for Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches Round 6. This is day 28 or sketch number 28. Now, the original sketch you can find over on her YouTube channel or on her Facebook page. And it called for having banners across the top of the layout, and I'm going to create some banners with these scraps of paper. I am down to just using scraps or 6x6 pattern papers um, in my pages because all of my 12 by 12 papers are used up, and I did have to add in some additional cardstock at this point. I am using a single kit. I am using my October 2019 Counterfeit Kit Challenge kit, which I revisited to 2020 and added a few additional scraps in. So I am really getting my money's worth out of this kit because I am using up tons of the 6x6 papers as well as the scraps as well as the embellishments that I include in. Usually I will go through and use a kit and I will have tons of embellishments to put back into my stash. And I'm going to tell you with this kit, that's not going to happen. I'm going to have some to go back into my stash, but I'm telling you, I have used so much so much with this kit. It is just unbelievable. And I think that's one of the things that kept me from using it up right away was because I was intimidated by the size of it. When I started creating, I made it big. Yeah. So there I'm pulling in a little bit of crochet twine to create the banner string that goes across the top. And initially I was going to put the string through the tops of the banner, and then I changed my mind. And you'll see what I do here in just a few minutes. I haven't used my my hole punch. I forget what it's called. But yeah, it's my glorified hole punch. It's supposed to be an eyelet setter as well as a hole punch, but yeah, I don't do eyelets. So that was really a very expensive hole punch. And I can't think of what it's called. Oh my gosh, you guys leave it down in the comment what it's called when you see it. Ah, it drives me crazy when my words won't come and I know what the tool is. I just cannot think of it. Anywho, so here I am. I'm creating my banners. I'm just folding over the edge and then I'm narrowing them at the top the same way that the original sketch had. I'm not measuring anything. I'm just kind of eyeballing it, you know, which sometimes you will see me get my ruler out and go to town with that. Other times, not so much. And that's okay. It is what it is. Here I have that 3 by, maybe a little bit more than 3x6 piece of almost a ledger paper with the bicycle on the bottom of it. Now I did have another, there it is, the one that's supposed to be the eyelet setter. Yeah. Anywho, I had that piece on another layout, so I thought I had another scrap of it, so I thought, well, I'll use it here to kind of map my photo on. Now, part of the inspiration sketch had some mixed media on, and you guys know if you've watched my channel, I'm not much into mixed media, but I decided I was going to play a little bit. So I grabbed some of my white acrylic paint and I added some um, water to it. And I'll show you how it turns out here in just a minute. And then I have some Mr. Huey's white mist that I used. Yeah, that didn't work out so great. And I'm looking at the layout now, and all of those little bits that went on with the Mr. Huey's, they're all gray now. They're not white any longer. So you can see I used my hole punch to put the holes in the banners, and now I'm just going through with that crochet twine and putting the thread through to make my banner across the top of the page. And then I'm going to fuss around with those, just getting them just right here in just a few minutes when I start working on that. I really thought I did my mixed media first. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I've just lost my mind. Anywho, Yeah, this is one of those things that will make me absolutely crazy, not having the same length of twine on one side as I do the other. And I may cut it down at the very end so that they're both odd sizes, and that's okay. But initially, I want them both to have the same size. And my banners are not the same size going across there. So, yeah, I really fuss a lot with these. So have you guys followed along with the Christie's Beautiful Life um, sketches? Oh my gosh. I think towards the end of the sketches, she has, there you go. I have my mixed media down. And then I'm showing you there what I used. And the Mr. Huey's is the one that I was talking about. It comes out, it absorbs the paper color, and yeah, you end up with, instead of white on the background, you end up with gray when you put it on black. So here I'm taking a couple of pieces of washi tape and I'm putting down there in the bottom. And I'm using this old leatherette frame that I've had in my stash for years. I think 155 years is actually how long I've had it in my stash. You know, a long time ago, they were the rage. They were the thing to have, the leatherette um, slide mounts, or little slide frames, or the plastic ones, or they had wooden ones. They had all different kinds. And I had tons of uh, the leatherette ones. I got them on a clearance deal or a special deal, and I bought a ton of them. And so I have used them off and on over the years, and I haven't used one in probably 5 or 6 years, so it feels really good to get the leatherette used up. I have 2 or 3 of those left. And I think in this same kit, I may have had a couple of plastic ones, or maybe in my last kit, I had a couple of plastic ones that I was able to get used up. So that always feels good. So I've got everything down, and then I remembered I was going to put that one piece of paper in there, and it's going to cover up a lot of that mixed media, and that's okay. I really wanted that bicycle to show down at the bottom on the paper, and so yeah, I have to make a decision. Do I cover the mixed media or um, change the layout around, you know? And so it's one of those things that I'm debating, because you spend that time, you want the mixed media to show, but you also want that bit of pattern paper to show too. So, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Um, I want it to work, but yeah, I found that I covered most of the mixed media portion up, and that's okay. I like the way the overall layout turned out. I'm going to add some additional embellishments. Um, I was going to try and use that on there as a title, and it just didn't work. So my title is actually going to be Loved One, talking about my grandsons. My younger son married a woman who had 2 sons. Um, the younger one, I think when they got together, was 7. And then the older one, he just turned 18 this year, so he must have been about 16. Anyway, the older one has asked my son to adopt him. And so they're going through that process right now of him adopting the older boy. The younger son is not old enough to make that decision yet, whether he wants my son to adopt him. And it's okay. You know, I want him to be at a point where he can make that decision for himself. I don't want him to feel like he's being guilted or rushed to do anything that he doesn't want to do. So anywho, yeah, regardless of whether my son adopts him or not, they're still part of our family. You know, life is way too short, and we just don't have enough time or enough family in this day and age. So, you know, if I'm pulling these kids into being my life, they're in my life. So I've added some buttons. I added a little leftover circle. I've added some label stickers. Um, I'm adding these little potty people boys. And everything I have laid out there on that wax paper to use in this layout. And that's what I've been finding I've been doing to build my page kits when I come home from work or when I have a few minutes, so that when I have time to sit down and scrapbook, I can really just nail these scrapbook layouts and get them cranked out so fast. I can do, when I have the page kits built up, I can do sometimes 3 or 4 layouts in an evening after work. Here I've got my title laid out on the edge of the ruler, and it says, well, part of my title, it just says Grandsons. And so I put that down right there on top of the middle label sticker, and then I'm going to put their names, and then just in the bottom one I'm going to put brothers. That bicycle at the top is one that I had previously stamped and added into this kit. It was like a leftover piece from something. And so I added it in here, and I fussy cut around it. Here I'm using those Stickles glitter dots, and I'm going through and I'm adding some spots around the page. And once I get them down, it has kind of a bluish sheen, more so than a black sheen. So, you know, I don't know if that's what it was supposed to look like, but I used them. I'm not going to scrape them off the paper. They're too cute to do that. But I'm really liking how this layout turned out. I did take photos of all 4 corners of the layout, plus an overall photo at the end. So if you guys would like to see close-ups, feel free. Oh yeah, and I was putting that, I put those glue dots down, and then I put my hand right into them. You know, isn't that how it always goes? So then I, you know, rub them up because they're barely starting to dry, and I just reapplied. But I'm being super careful to not touch them this time. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching my video. I hope this inspired you to get into your stash and play with something, whether it be scrapbooking or some other medium that you play with, some other craftiness that you play with. Have some fun with your stash. Anyway, guys, I will see you guys on the next video. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.